Alright, what's up YouTube friends? So, we're going to explore this idea today about the Furnace of Affliction. I'm going to try to be quick about it because I've recorded this video 4 times in a row, and the same problem that I had before, I now have again. I record the video, and when I go to proof watch it, essentially, it says that there's no file. It's 0 bytes, which is weird because it's usually like 700 megs. But, so we're going to go again till we get this right. The Furnace of Affliction, okay? Furnace is an old French word that means fire of love. Affliction is misery, suffering, strife, usually self-inflicted, as it usually is. You know how I know that? Because I came out here with no script, which I don't do because I'll end up going off on tangents the entire time. And I was speaking, reading definitions and things like that while I was looking up other word meanings and etymology, and it fit together, so it was magical how it all came together. But so just gonna forget about it. When you take silver or any metal and you put it into the furnace, the what's that word? Smolt? Whatever. So when you take metal and you put it into the furnace, it gets super hot, and the impurities in the metal will seep from the inside to the outside, and it becomes what's called dross. That's one of those words that I looked up while I was reading the Bible verses. And then you just scrape it off and whatever. The same is true for a man. If you take a man and you put him into suffering, the impure things within him will come to the surface, and then you get rid of them. And this is the process of alchemy. The refiner's fire, the furnace of affliction is an alchemical process. It absolutely is. So, when you put a man into suffering, this is what the Lord does with the chosen. Not everyone. The chosen. And it's a really, really weird thing because you have to be conscious or self-aware to some degree before you can even suffer. If you aren't conscious, you aren't suffering. And I think that's what I knew thee before you were born. I knew you in the womb. I had chosen you already when you were in the womb. I think that's what that means. The initial conscious that some of us have when we're born, which separates us from the normie, is what allows us to be able to suffer. Suffering is a gift. Just as much as love is beautiful and it's a great thing, suffering is also a gift. If you didn't suffer, you wouldn't grow. These are two different realms or dimensions here. Love is a feeling that you have, which the goal is to love anyone, everyone, everything unconditionally, while suffering is something that you experience and you go through, and it makes changes in you. So I guess there really ain't that much difference. But if you don't suffer, you don't grow. If you are born incredibly wealthy and you never have to work and you never have to worry or stress or any of that, you turn into a spoiled little brat. And there are a lot of examples I won't mention a certain city in California with a big white sign. I won't. But that's a good example. Out of touch with reality, spoiled little brats. Um, so, the goal of the alchemy here, right, is when you go into the suffering, the impure things, thoughts, emotions, feelings, behaviors within you, they will come out of you. And I assume this would be to try to escape the suffering, or alleviate the suffering, or resolve whatever it is that's making you suffer. And in this process of trying to fix the suffering, eventually you'll come to the realization that it's out of your hands. There's not much you can do about it. You can lie to yourself, you can hide from it, but if the Lord puts you into the furnace of affliction, that's where your ass is going to stay. But the point is, God doesn't put us in struggles and into affliction as punishment. He puts us there because there's something within us that we need to get rid of, which is a really, really fascinating thing to think about. So do this. Think about what something right now, something that bothers you, something that stresses you, worries you, makes you anxious, whatever it may be. And then try to figure out what it is in you that needs to be dealt with. That's really interesting. See, I already have this philosophy, right? If someone does something, says something, behaves in a certain way, and it upsets me, or makes me sad, or it evokes any kind of emotion in me, I stop and I think, why does that do that to me? Why does that make me feel this way? And then I try to fix it. But, yeah. So, when you get into the furnace of, when you go through your trouble, you're in the furnace of affliction, these impure things will come out of you. You need to recognize them and get rid of them. This world, I swear, it's so crazy how, I assume it's like this for everybody, but it's like, I used to think and act and behave like everybody else, and in a strange sort of way. There's always just been something in me that everybody has hated, like my own parents. But I don't know. There's just something about me that people never ever liked. They hated it. And I don't act like I'm better than anybody, or I try to help everybody. I'm always really nice. I don't try to dominate conversations. I'm not hyper aggressive. I'm competitive if we're supposed to be being competitive, but I'm not unnecessarily competitive. Like if you want to play some football or something, that's cool. If you want to get competitive and see who's better, we can do that, but I don't recommend that. I'm sorry, I won't go on about myself here. This world and these people and the way that they think and the things that they do, it is so weird to me that I used to do that. It's like what I know now is so clear and so obvious that seeing other people think the way that I used to think is weird. And I try to point it out to them, like, that's so primitive and basic. But, of course, they don't want to hear it because they love that mind. They absolutely love it. It's their drug. It fuels them. Don't think, just react. That's what they like. But this world, it will tell you that alchemy is the process of taking lead, and these days it's a little more funny because they have this theory. This is a theory, not proven fact. And this is atomism. Everything is made of atoms, which atoms are 99% empty space. So still, we're talking about nothing, but they think that there's an atom, and it has a certain number of neutrons and protons on the nucleus, and then there's rings of electrons, right? And so, lead will have 4 neutrons, 4 protons in the middle, and 4 electrons circling around, like an orbit, just like the solar system, coincidentally, which is also a theory. And if you can just take 2 of those electrons out, then that would make the atomic structure of gold, and therefore turn lead into gold. That's what they believe that it is. They think alchemy is taking a physical object and turning it into another physical object, when in truth, alchemy is taking the character flaws, the bad behavior, the bad thinking, and turning it into good traits, good behavior, good thinking. That's literally what it is. The Furnace of Affliction explains this clearly. I refined you just as silver. I put you in the fire. The things that were bad came to the top, and we wiped them away. Dross. It's really, really, really strange. But smoking is probably something I need to get rid of. But I guess this will do. The video before this that was the same thing, the same topic. I had tabs open. We were looking at words and Bible verses and figuring out all the etymology, the meanings, putting them in context in the Bible and all of that. But you can just take this information and you can carry it forward and use it as a reference. When you endure suffering or hardship, that isn't supposed to make you fold or quit or have regret. That is meant to make you stronger, because you don't get stronger unless you have tests, essentially. The point is, if you use it or you lose it. If you don't exercise and you don't use your body will begin to weaken and get sick and die. If you don't use your mind gets less and less and less expansive. The more that you think about grand ideas, the more expanded your mind becomes, and the more grand things you can think about. Use it or you lose it. This is also true for rights, which do not come from the government and are not meant to be protected by the government. Rights come from the Creator for every man, and they say, because you are a living, conscious human being, you should have these freedoms. You are free to do these things. No one can take that from you. No one. You can only give these things away, and I wouldn't give away anything that God gave me. Ever. Nothing. It's not even debatable. If you try to take it, I will try to not give it to you. And that's how it should be. If someone tries to take your God-given rights, you don't allow it. And when enough people don't allow it, they stop trying. That's just how this works. But I guess just remember this as future reference. When you're suffering and you start feeling things and reacting in a certain way, figure out why it is that happens and resolve it. Transmute it. Transmute the sorrow into motivation. Transmute the suffering into love. Because pain and suffering paint pictures. That's what art's all about. Peace out, guys. I love you all.